Did you take care of the restream name and all the stuff?
I hope so.
Thanks.
I hope so.
I hope so.
I hope so. Otherwise, it's gonna be a weird title, but it's
That is not very convincing.
I mean, I did change it, but you never know. Maybe something.
Yeah. APIs can fail.
Yes, exactly. All right. Another meeting, another week. So let me just does anyone want to say hi and introduce themselves before we get into it? No?
Hey everybody, I'm Jesse. I live in the United States. It's good to be back.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Welcome, Jesse.
Good.
Thanks, man.
All right. Well, jumping straight into it. Magic.
Yeah, my can I share my screen?
Yeah, for sure.
Probably. No, it's disabled. Come
That
on.
was short.
Is this fine?
Yeah, fine. Okay. So, do you see my screen?
Barely.
Maybe-
Can you make text bigger?
Yeah, sure. Now? I
Yeah,
think that
that's
is
fine.
good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
that's good. So, okay, so here I have a proposal. Probably I don't know, maybe the fourth proposal for the same topic. How to allow to define the custom formats in the schema format. The default one, the Essence API JSON schema. So I add new keyword, the custom schema, to the Essence API schema object. So here, yes, the Essence API schema object, as you know or not, is a extended JSON schema with the 3 additional keywords, like here, discriminator, external documentation, and deprecated, yes? And the rest are from the draft 07 from JSON schema. So next to this additional keyword, the discriminator, etc., I added the custom schema, and it's an object, which has a two field, the format, which describe the format which we are using. So in this example is the Avro, and also the definition for this format, yes, definition for this schema. So as you can see, for example, like this one, yes, that we exactly use the Avro and then add some definition for this schema, for this object exactly. Yeah, and by this, that it's the additional keyword in the JSON schema, we can use also the referencing, like in the JSON schema, like in another part of Essence API, to be honest. And yeah, the schema format in the message object is deprecated because we will describe the separate format not in the message level, but in the payload level or the headers level, yes, in this way. And by this, we will be also able to define the another format, the another schema format, not only in the payload, but also in the other places, like in the extensions or in the channel parameters, because it's another place where we can use the JSON schema. Yeah, and due to the fact that it's an additional keyword in the JSON schema, we can also use the another JSON schema keyword, like in the title or descriptions or external documentation. And yeah, and we can also use the nested schemas, yes. So as you can see here, we have some JSON schema object type, some properties like the grades for the students, and then students. And inside the student property, we can also use another format, not only JSON schema, but the another one. And yeah, and that's it. So yeah, fun. 5 questions.
No, I was seeing if Zoom can recognize my hand, but no, it only
Okay.
iPad.
Okay.
Damn it. So I have a few questions with this. So custom schema, you said like custom schema is allowed to be there. It's another keyword of our schema object.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Next to this one.
So that means that we can say, for instance, in your example that you're using Avro, this one, for instance, this one is fine. Then someone could be defining the object with JSON schema and at the same time with Avro.
Yeah.
So don't we have a way to avoid this? That
I mean, yeah, because in this proposal, it's not described here, but yeah, I know about that problem. And we probably have two options: allow every JSON schema keywords alongside with the custom schema, yes, or make something like that. If you define the custom schema, you can only define next to this keyword field such as like the title, descriptions. Yeah.
Yes.
Some, only for the user, like the external documentation. And I go in this way because I think that some custom format hasn't something like the external documentation for the given schema, yes, or maybe descriptions or another meta information for the users, maybe read only or write only or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can avoid that by, only say that only the title, descriptions, external documentation can be used with the custom schema, or we able also define something like that, like the custom schema, but with the properties, or with also some constraint, like the min length or max length or something like that. Yeah. But it will be the problematic, yes, and we should discuss it.
Assuming that this is clarified and everything, there's another point. So you can nest. You have an example where you can nest schema definitions with mixed schema formats. So for instance, the top level one is JSON schema, but student is using Avro. So isn't it like adding a huge complexity into the mix?
Yeah,
for no reason. Like, I mean, like
yeah, I have one reason.
Why would I want to use JSON schema? And one of the fields is going to be defined with Avro, and then in the future, another field is defined with, I don't know, protobuf or whatever else. Like, I can't imagine parsers. So parsers are gonna get crazy, right? Like, complex.
It can be the crazy. Yeah, it can be the crazy, but you have to remember that at the moment, if we have, the custom schema in the message payload, yeah, the schema format inside the message level, we change this custom schema to the JSON. Yeah, so then the people using the another, tooling, for example, the templates, exactly use the JSON schema. I mean, can read the data like the JSON schema, yeah.
No, but we're not the only ones maintaining parsers, right? That's my point. So our parser is not the only one out there, right? So I know that it shouldn't be exactly a stopper, but now my question is more like, who you think will need to have something like
this feature? Yeah. In the spec, we have one issue for that, but yeah, okay. Some problem issues. I don't remember where I proposed, probably this one. Come on, go. Oh, yeah. Okay, and the Gerald Laffer probably write about it. Yeah, the Gerald Laffer has this one. Very similar, yes. Yeah, the mixed schemas, such as one of the payload, yes. So it means that the Gerald Laffer want the functionality that you can define something like that. One of payload, one is a JSON schema, and another one can be, for example, the Avro or something like that. Oh my God. Yeah, or RAM, yes, like this one. So you have the, yeah.
Ada definitely does not approve.
Probably yes, probably yes.
I know.
I know.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
Yeah,
user schema is the RAM and the timestamp schema is a JSON schema normal, yes. And you can define all of in this way, in this case. Yeah.
Ooh.
So by this, yeah, and also the another problem why I add this functionality that we can have probably a problem with the referencing because, yeah. Okay, I will create
And also, and also the whole thing will stop at one level. Like for instance, inside Avro, you will not be able to have yet another level where you have another custom schema.
Yeah, in Avro, yes, only in the JSON schema. Yeah?
Only the JSON schema.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's a huge problem. Yes. How, you know, we have some features, but this feature only works in one way. And it's a problem how to describe it.
No, it's not a huge problem actually. It's okay. Like, I mean,
yeah. Continue.
How can like?
So basically, Gerald is coming from Salesforce, right?
Yes. So he's working at MuleSoft. Yeah.
So he's doing the same work I was doing in SAP because it's super similar. So probably a lot of different systems integrated in some event bus. That's why you can sometimes have different formats for different message because it's coming from some legacy or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the use case.
Yeah, that I understand. The thing is that if you have a whole schema that is of RAML type, that's fine. But what I find it weird is that you can have a schema where one property is defined with Avro, another property with JSON schema, and another property with RAML. So you have a JSON object where you have 3 properties, each of them defined with each schema type. I'm sorry, but I can't think of a use case where this is. I mean, I can think of a use case, but it's really a edge case, I would say, right? Like it's only a few people are experimenting this pain. But on the other side, if we allow this level of complexity on the schema definition, the rest of the people creating tooling and including us are going to experience a lot of complexity because of these few people. You know what I mean? The thing is that you might have data in RAML and Avro and so on. That's fine. You want to mix them all in a single document and have them mix it like this. You can convert them in a previous pipeline, step or something like that in CI or manually before you do it. I don't know, whatever it applies. So you can do this job yourself instead of delegating this to the spec, right? Because if we do it ourselves on the spec, just for a few people doing that, like Lucas said, like the job he was doing at SAP, maybe Gerald is doing something similar, and on MuleSoft, or is experimenting from time to time, something like that, then it's just a few people who are going to actually have this use case. Just I probably can count them with one hand, right? And that's going to add a lot of complexity for just 5 companies or 5 people. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm not sure it's worth the effort. Like it's or not the effort. It's worth the complexity. I have the feeling that it's too much. It's adding too much complexity. Not the feeling. I'm sure that this adds a lot of complexity, a lot, because it's already complex to translate from RAML to JSON schema and from Avro to JSON schema or something like that. It's already complex enough that if we have to do it at a property level, like we have to be checking which is the schema format, then we're going to end up with a mixed object. Like this, translating from RAML will have these features. Like you're able to translate from RAML to JSON schema this set of features. Not all of them. It's not possible.
Exactly.
You can translate from Avro to JSON schema this other set of features. Not all of them. It's not possible. So you're going to end up with a zombie kind of message, right? That you probably want to do it yourself before adding it to async API.
And this is the problem. So, I mean, it can be then other questions. Do we need the custom schema in the Essence API? Because the people
that's
can
another
ask,
thing. That's another good question. We may not need it. We think it's useful because mainly because of Avro, right? Mainly because of Avro and because of the Kafka community. So the Kafka community is mostly using Avro. So not supporting Avro there is like telling the whole Kafka community, which is a big part of async API community and users, to do this translation process before using async API. That I understand. It's like, okay, we're doing it's the same argument that I was saying, like, but it's not for 5 people. It's for a huge part of the community. So then it's like, okay, we're making life easier for a huge part of it, right? So then it's like worth it, I would say.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do it, and I'm saying 5 people, not 5 people, but there's probably more. I don't know, maybe not. But if we were hearing about people like, hey, we have to deal with different schema formats all the time, you need to somehow support this, and we keep hearing the same thing, then we probably have to do it, right?
Yeah.
But other than Gerald and Lucas at SAP, I never heard about someone else having to do it.
Yeah.
But maybe just at Solas, I don't know.
Just to clarify, like when I'm talking about use cases for Salesforce and SAP, and I think it's actually for every enterprise that is long enough to have some legacy system, it's usually a message, 2 versions, like 2 payloads, like in 2 different formats of the same message. Then I think it's actually something for many systems. So something that Gerald talks about. But if it comes to this mix of Avro inside JSON, that's
what I mean. Yeah, that's what.
So that's definitely, like, I've never seen it. Like, so, and I don't think Gerald actually talks about it. Like, Gerald talks about the need.
In one level. Yeah, in one level.
Yeah, on the
at the top level. At the top level.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. At the top level, that's what we have at the top level. It's what we already have. But
we don't have it on the component level.
We don't have it. Yeah, we don't have it on the schemas.
But we can force, on the top level. I mean, we can only force that the custom schema you can only define.
Exactly. I was thinking more of moving this responsibility to the schema object, not to the schema object, but like in the schema. So inside components, for instance, you have schema, and you have I don't know, my message schema, and then my message schema will have, from now on, will not contain the schema directly, but it will contain 2 fields.
But it can be that problems, yes? And by this I create the custom schema, and for that I create this file. Because
okay.
For example, yes, we can have the schema 1, yes, and then it can be the normal JSON schema, yes. Then we can have the schema. If we go with the direction that we have a 2 field like this format, yes, so JSON schema, and then we have, for example, like definition def, and we exactly define the string, and then we have the schema second with a format Avro. Okay, so we have the Avro. There's some definition, yes, and okay, it's a good. We can make the reference. This is not the problem. But sometimes you can have something like this one, So you have, of course, the schema format, etc. But if you, for example, want to define another JSON schema in this way, so you have to make something like that. JSON schema def Okay, we have this. This
Yeah,
is about
I
some
know what you mean.
properties. Yeah, exactly. Some lol. Okay, and then make the reference. So it could be the component schemas, schema one, and then def. Yeah. So as you can see, it can be the problem.
Well, actually, no, it's not a problem. Actually,
I
it's just
mean,
you have to add def.
yeah, the
that's
people
bad.
need to remember that you need to define the def. Yes.
I mean, it's not really a problem. Thing is, I thought you were going to say like now you can have another property along with lol that will reference the Avro schema.
It can be,
then
but
we have the mix.
to be honest, it can be. Yeah, but
Yeah, that will worry.
yeah,
Worries me.
if the JSON schema will be, yes. Like in the payload, yes, you can write the payload in line and then make the
Yeah.
references. Yeah. So you need to remember about this definition.
So-
This.
So what about what about this? Like, what about? I think this is a real discussion here. Like, lol, you have the lol property. If you add another property, lol two, something like that, then you could be referencing schema two. And then we have,
this one, yes. Or maybe okay, I am from Poland, not the lol, but dupa. Okay.
yeah. So now what you have is a mixed model, is a nested model that you were mentioning, and that to me is a problem, because it says JSON schema, format JSON schema, but dupa is not JSON schema.
Yeah, but you can define the additional keyword in JSON schema. So it means that you won't have a valid JSON schema. Sorry, you will have the valid JSON schema, but this JSON schema won't have any sense. Yeah, because the something like the or not, because in the Avro you have the type, yes, of the record. So it's something like the record.
Yeah, Avro, but if it's
yeah, so you will have the problem. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if it's Avro, that's fine. But if it's I don't know, in the future we might want to add XSD and protobuf and things like this. Now what? Now what? Right? So I don't know. I don't know how to solve this. Like, is it really possible that we can have this on schema level, at schema level? If maybe we can have it, but we have to then, in this case, it will fail. It would simply fail because dupa is not JSON schema. We said that that schema 3 is JSON schema, but it's not. So that's another option. We fail. It fails to validate, and it's like,
yeah, exactly.
You cannot.
If you pass the root, the root value, yeah, it will fail. Like in this way, yes.
Yeah. So,
but by the custom schema, if we will have exactly the custom schema, yeah, yeah, so then it won't fail. Yes, we can, for example, say that we only can use the custom schema in the root of the schema when you make the reference, but not in the nested property.
What's the root?
In this way, not the properties.
But what is the root? Because if I have my schemas extracted to another file, then the root is in the other file. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you need to make the reference in the root of the another schema. So you cannot make the reference in
That's the problem, and then it breaks composability.
But to be honest, how to solve that? Yeah, I have three or four proposals for that.
So that's the thing, that the root where here, if we define like here in the syncope file, yes, we can make sure that it's only on the root. But if it's only on the root, then if you have a schema where you are defining this on the root, because your payload is this whole schema, but this whole schema is also a sub schema of another schema, then this property in the root cannot be there because we only allow it on the root. So,
but it will be the root of the payload, yeah.
On another payload, that's what I mean. On a different payload, you know what I mean. So it's like we may have a say, for instance, I have say for instance, I want to have two schemas, user and I don't know, like user has first name and email, and I want to have user with age. So I have these two schemas. One has first name and email, and the other one has first name, email, and age. Right? So both of them will be used as a top level schema, both of them in two different channels. Okay, but there is a third channel where one of them is going to be used as a sub schema, not on the top level, because it has the custom schema field, blah blah blah, etc. It will fail because it cannot be defined in a sub schema. So you will not be able to reuse it, or we have to ignore it. But if we ignore it, then we will not be able to translate it.
Yeah.
That breaks reusability. Jonas, I think you don't have to raise your hand. Yes. We're not civilized.
It was just more easy. Now that you want to rant. No, I just wanted to mention that I'm not sure you're aware, but we are already allowing you to mix and match just within JSON schema itself. You can mix and match different versions of JSON schema with each other.
By the schema keyword, yeah, the dollar schema. Yeah.
Different versions of JSON schema.
Yes.
Yeah, but that is because of the dollar. What was the
dollar schema?
Dollar schema, yeah.
Dollar schema.
Yeah, so we have the format. Yeah?
But
these are the dollar format, dollar schema.
It's a feature of JSON schema in the end.
Yes.
So that's okay. Like we're not mixing. We're just leveraging JSON schema feature, which is having a dollar schema property to allow you that. That's fine. Thing is that imagine mixing this with protobuf, for instance.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you do that?
But you shouldn't, right? That's the thing, and it will just fail. But correct me if I'm wrong. But even now with current version, I can have because we're looking at this example like component schemas, but you can reference not only within the single document, you can reference schema from external document that is not even a Async API document. It's just a document with a schema. So I can have a document with Avro schema, and I can anyway already do a reference to a Avro document, right? Technically.
Yeah.
And,
to the file. Yeah.
And we're not really discussing it and worrying about it. It's just
because nobody is using it, right? Because it doesn't really make sense.
So is it really a problem here, or
it is a problem? I mean, it's not a problem. It is a added complexity because we're allowing mixing and matching inside the object itself, like per level, per property.
But that complexity is already there.
Huh?
That complexity is already there.
By the JSON schema, yeah.
No, just general with references. If you have external references to an external file,
and you will have
that you'd mix it. You just have no way of explicitly saying it.
Yeah, but we expect this to be JSON schema, right? Or everything should be the same type, let's say, right? That's what we're expecting. If not, it will fail, right?
I'm not sure the spec actually comes.
But here we're saying no, we can add custom schema into the mix, right? And then people could expect that this is going to be understood and it's going to be translated, and it's not going to be translated.
It should be. I mean, yeah. I mean, we should discuss it. Yes. If we are.
I mean, it's not that it cannot be. Is that allowing it will be crazy because it's a lot of complexity for something that parsers will have to support for no reason. Like nobody's asking for that, right? So that's my point.
The spec itself actually doesn't say anything about you only referencing JSON schema.
No, of course not. I mean, you can reference JSON documents, of course, but when you have a payload or headers, and we say that this is a schema object, in the schema object, we say that it has the JSON schema draft 7 shape, right? That's one thing. So now, so it's saying that it's JSON schema. You can only, inside the JSON schema, you have the $ref that can only reference other JSON schema. Otherwise, it will not, it will be composed with some invalid JSON schema and it will fail parsing. That's okay. But what we're allowing, what we are suggesting here, then, if we have the custom format property, is that this object that we're referencing somewhere has a custom schema saying this is now this is RAML, right? And this is my RAML definition or protobuf or whatever. And from here, we're referencing this object and we're expecting it to work. Right now, it doesn't work, right? Because one is a JSON schema and we're referencing RAML. That will not work as it is right now. But with custom schema, we're expecting this to work. And that will add a lot of complexity. That's my point.
So yeah, as I said, maybe we should only allow the custom schema on the root. Yeah, I mean, you said about this, yeah, on the root.
What's the root? Where is
Come
the
on,
root?
man, it's a root.
What
It's
is,
a root.
yeah, but what if? But that's what I explained. Like this is the root here. But if I have the same object defined to be used as a root level object definition, and at the same time will be this, a property of another object, where do you put custom schema? And
But
why
it's a problem with,
we can ignore it, but then
yeah, but it's
will,
a problem with using the references because the people don't understand.
But then it's breaking
how exactly they use, yes. But in this way.
But the thing is that then it's breaking reusability.
I don't follow, because so no, the only problem I have is that
this, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Magic's solution basically just allows us to explicitly say it now, instead of implicitly always having it, that we like the way that we have with the spec now. Magic solution is just explicitly stating it. So the problem is always there. It always has been. Whether you use it or know about it, that's another thing.
Not really. The thing is that right as the way it is right now, it's defined at message level. So you cannot have properties that will have one type and another property will have another type, because it's on the message level. It's not on the schema level. Give me a sec. Because right now is.
That's true, yeah.
Test, whatever, publish, I don't know, whatever.
Remember that we have 20 minutes for the second topic.
Don't mind, I can explain my stuff later on another meeting, it's okay.
We have the time we have.
Huh?
I say we have the time we have.
Yeah, exactly. So say for instance that I have, I don't know, components and schema one, right? So components, schema one, right? And this one, like I was saying, for instance, let's just use user here, yeah. And it has properties. It has I don't know.
You could just use it.
First name. Yeah, let's just keep it simple. Email, right? Blah blah blah, whatever in JSON schema, right? So and we have another one which is otherwise it will not compile. Sorry. And user with age, right? And now we have properties, first name, same thing, email, same thing, fuck, I'm always, and age, blah, 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 okay? So we have now, we now have this, okay? But we have a third one, whatever else, something, I don't know, friends, something like this, which has, okay, that is, no, not, friends, I hate Copilot. I'm gonna disable it after this. Okay. disable globally. It's too much. So friends, and we have this one, friend. And we have, I don't know, type of friendship, something like this. And we have, and we want to know who's the user, right? And the user is something like this. So we want to have components, schemas, user, but we want to have it with age, for instance. Okay. So this is what we have. If we allow here to have custom schema, and we want to put custom schema here as well, because they are top level, right? As you were saying, right? Here, user with age has custom schema because it's top level. But here, we're using user with age on the user property, and this is not top level.
But this is your problem because you don't understand the custom schema. If you have the custom schema inside the user or user with age, then you only can make the reference inside the payload headers or in the another, you know.
But that's a problem. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but we can show the error, yes, that you can mix the schemas, yes, the another format of the schemas.
But that's making it worse than it is. That's my point. Like, this can now be extracted to 2 different files, for instance, and we only have friend here, right? And we can safely say that user with age.
But
whatever.
You need to remember how format you know make the reference. Yes, this is the problem.
No, here no, because schemas are always JSON schema, right? So we don't have this problem right now. Like, it's always JSON schema, right?
Yeah, but some people want to define inside the component schemas another format.
I know.
Yeah.
They don't want that. They want to reuse definitions, which is different. They want to reuse and compose, right? The problem is, how do we make sure? And it's not by putting this in top level, because top level is top level here, but here is not top level, right? User is not top level. So what do we do in this case? We ignore custom schema. We allow to do this, or we fail because we have a custom schema inside a property. What do we do? Either way, people will want this to work here and here. That's the problem. At some point, they're gonna say like, no, I want this to be translated here. And that's adding a lot of complexity, because this is JSON schema until we arrive here, which is then something else with another custom schema, right? That's my concern here, that we're mixing JSON schema with some other type of schema, like RAML data types, like whatever, right? And we might have another one here, right? So we might have another one here, which is something else, right? That might have yet another schema. So this one might be, I don't know, Avro. This will be protobuf, and this itself is JSON schema. You see, supporting this in tools is going to be a mess. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's going to be like making this work on tooling. It's only making things more complicated.
But you can make on the JSON schema side.
Huh?
It will be very easy. You can make it on the JSON schema side.
But even if you make it on the JSON schema side, like, it will be that's what you saw before, and I showed how you actually show the nested example. That's exactly what I'm saying, that in the nested example you will
but it will be the error. Yes, you will see the error that you cannot make it. You cannot make the reference by the something. You can write the JSON schema for specification in this way, that the custom schema.
We're gonna build a custom JSON schema parser for ourselves.
Why? I mean, no. It means that
it will have to interpret the custom schema keyword in every step, in every property.
Okay, no. In this way, that before we interpret the additional format, we first validate, yes, and in this way, by the root, we can say that you can only use the custom schema in the root of the schema. In this way, the component schema user, or user with age, or the friend, yes? And then if you make the nested referencing, you will have the error. Why? because by the JSON schema, you can write that the custom schema can
Yes.
be only used
I
inside the root.
understand that. I understand that. What I'm saying is that in this case, then next step is going to be people complaining that they cannot reuse user with H here and user with H here, right?
Yeah, and we can also
actually the
force
same.
that you cannot use the properties, items, etc., alongside with the custom schema.
No, you
But-
might make it super clear in the spec. That's okay.
Yeah.
Next thing, that
Also
I'm-
by the JSON schema, yeah, you can make it.
like next thing that people are going to ask is like this should be working seamlessly, and then it's going to add complexity.
And yeah, exactly. So you have the feature and complexity, and you have this no complexity and no feature. So you know we should.
So my point is that we're entering a land that we might not even want to enter. That's the thing. Like we might not even want to solve it. Like are we? To be honest, like this is adding a lot of, and you know that I'm not a super fan of having JSON schema, and I want to have other formats. That's okay. But the thing is that if we do it like this is going to be a mess to implement, not just by us. There are other people implementing parsers out there. MuleSoft is one of them for the Anypoint platform. Solaz, I don't know if they have their own parser, but I assume they have because they're using Java. So, or they will have. If right now they're only exporting to async API, but if at some point they start importing async API, they might have to create another parser. That's creating a huge complexity to me that is not justified. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that this is not possible. It is completely possible. But to me, it's adding a lot of complexity even for us.
Yeah, Jesse wants say something. Yeah.
Yeah, just to affirm that we will at some point have to bring in async API, and it is already a very complex. Just the number of ways the async API can be configured makes it tough to map it over into our product. So yeah, slapping on additional complexity is hard. On the other hand, like we would love to have XML support and Avro support and the whole shebang. So I don't know quite know where that leads us, unfortunately.
I have a question. So for what if we took another, so we have components that schemas for only JSON schemas, or most precisely the async API schema object. We could have multiple properties for, let's say, instead of schemas, you have Avros. And you only put Avros in there.
But you can make still reference. This is the problem.
No, but you don't have this custom schema format. It's still within the message object. So you can never cross-reference them in a sense.
What if we put it one level up? So now my suggestion here is, what if we get rid of this, right? And I don't know if it will be.
Or that, yeah.
We still have the problem, but I don't know. We can have something like this, right?
But you can still make the reference, yes, between the another formats.
Yeah, you can still make the reference. That's the thing.
It's a problem with all Spec, not only with this.
That's the problem. The only but it will be easier to avoid because you can just say like whatever it's starting by components, schemas, JSON schemas will not be allowed. Whatever. But this might not be even here. It might be in another file. So yeah, it might not even have this.
Yeah. Also, this problem with the def, yes, that you can make the def and format in.
Guys, need to clarify again because you got me lost 20 minutes. Whatever you're showing now, it is possible with async API 2.0. Anyway, you can have two different channels, two different messages. One is Avro, one is JSON, and you can reference from JSON to Avro. Technically, you can provide such reference.
But not to another schema, but to the message payload.
To the payload, yeah.
I mean, you can do that, but you technically can do that, of course. But like it doesn't work, and nobody expects this to work, right? The thing is that if we allow multiple types of schemas, then people will want to reference between each other.
But that's all about the describing in the spec, what's allowed, what's not, and validating, and that's it. Like, right?
Yeah, the thing is, how do you control that? Like, one is one of the options is like what Maciek was saying, like we have custom schema here on the top level, but what is the top level? Is this the top level? Cool. Here is not top level. We kinda can choose to ignore it, or we fail.
Fail.
Okay? We fail here, or we ignore the custom schema, and then we assume that this is JSON schema. And because it's not, it's gonna fail. Cool, that's fine. But because it's working here, and because it's working here, then people will want to use it here, and it doesn't work. And then next thing is people asking for this to work.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it coming.
Okay, I understand, but
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm seeing it coming. Like we make a first step of having this working and this not working, and the next step will be people want this to work.
yeah. I mean, I understand your concerns, but maybe we should make some surveys for that or something like that, because at the moment only you, me, Jonas, and Łukasz and Jesse talking about discuss.
Yeah,
But
no, we
probably
should discuss in the issue for sure.
yeah, but we should make maybe some survey if someone will have such a case. Yes,
I'm happy to hear for cases like why.
Good luck.
I mean, you
I
can
mean,
say that
isn't-
okay, we don't see the cases, but after the release 3.0, someone will have. But come on, I have the case for that.
Yeah,
That will happen regardless of it.
Yeah.
But now isn't it the problem because now you're showing this custom schema next, like as a part of JSON schema, but in another example I saw that it's actually under this, or I'm mixing the proposals, but I could see that there's a schema, but actually inside schema you define the format, and you have extra definition property where you actually specify.
There was another. I think you still have the same problem.
Yeah, technically yes, but like it's super, like it's pretty explicit. You can see, and again, like I mean, like me personally, I don't see. I mean, first of all, I think it's super useful that we would have this custom formats on a component level, and like I'm totally not with the idea to mix it inside the JSON schema, like the initial proposal. But like this is actually something that is useful, and I think there was also a proposal from Michael from Solas as well, like how to enable that. So then like it's not about surveying. We know there are use cases.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like there are some risks as well, but there are risks with 2.0 anyway, and people can misuse it. And it's just a matter of the definition of the spec and the validations or whatever error messages.
So then, I mean, to me, this makes sense. But we have to agree to stop there. And we have to agree now, like we have to stop here. Because if someone ever asks that this should work, this is a lot of complexity. This part where we're mixing Avro, protobuf, and JSON schema, and blah, blah, blah. This to me is a lot.
Like for me, logically, it doesn't make sense. Like who would really, because it's not just complexity for us, it's complexity for actually the developer that has to handle two different, like they have faced the same issues that we would face on the parser level, they would face it on the app level.
Also, just let me play with something here, but we were talking about top level, but what if we have this, such as, I don't know, like, this is a third file for reusing stuff. And I want to have something, I don't know, my schemas, I don't know, version 2, whatever, version 2 of my product, and I want to have schemas here, right? And I want to paste it here, and that's what I have here. And then here, we don't have this, but we have references to the other file that I just created. We have schema format here, but it's not on the top level, right? It's actually it's inside many levels. How do we make sure that it's actually we find schema format on the top level?
What?
Well, actually, we can. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can do
Because
it.
you can make the nested references.
Yeah. We can do
The
it.
schema too, or the user.
Okay.
It can be the problem, yes.
Thing is that my only concern is that this is fine. This is actually cool. We already allowed this somehow, like you can have the payload and the message with different formats. So that is like moving the payload to schemas. That's okay. So it's not more complexity, but this is a huge complexity. And my fear is that once we support this, we're gonna get people requesting this.
And I don't think we will.
Not people, but I mean not people, not many people, right? But we're gonna have some key companies, key for the success of the project, asking for just saying.
Yeah,
I have this feeling. I may be wrong. I may be being paranoid here, but I have the feeling that this will be the next step.
Right.
Or some people will expect this to work and they will feel frustrated because it doesn't work.
I guess that is more or less what the entire discussion has been for the past hour, which is exactly how can we avoid that scenario?
Yes. How can we avoid this? If we could make this work without making this third case possible, that would be amazing. If we
you can make really.
No, I mean like making it impossible here.
Yeah, you can make really.
Right now it's possible.
I mean,
make it fail.
But okay, but possible is also make the reference to the channel inside the server. Yeah.
Yes,
and
I know.
It's a problem for you.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. You can make a reference to the channel and to the message.
Yeah. So we can we can show the error that you cannot use that. Yes.
We actually throw it already. Like, I mean, the parsing will fail anyway.
No. To be honest, no. No. In this way, no.
Yes, like if you're gonna reference Avro, it's gonna fail because you don't reference a valid JSON object.
JSON schema, but you can define the additional keywords alongside with the JSON schema. Yeah. The problem with the Avro that you make the reference that the Avro use the type keyword that has the record, and by this you have the error, because in the JSON schema you can have the string, number, integer, object, array, and null. Yeah. That's 6. And inside the Avro, you can use the record, and it's invalid value for the JSON schema. Yeah. For example, if you make the reference in the properties, no, by the string, no, but probably by the RAM, maybe, or Avro, I don't know. Oh my God, sorry. But sometimes you can have the valid JSON schema, but you don't know about that. You know? But okay, it's my rant. Okay. It's my rant. Yeah.
So how do we move forward from this discussion? Like how do we move the proposal forward?
I don't know. Maybe make some survey for that.
But survey about what? What do you want to ask?
If people want to use the nested custom format inside the schemas, or only in the top level, like the payload.
Not in the payload, we know that they want.
Exactly.
In the payload, they already know.
So there's not much to survey.
Yeah, or maybe as the Geralt want. Yes. So want to define one off. Yeah.
I'm afraid to ask because some people oh yeah, this is really cool. I don't need it, but this is really cool. This will be really cool. It's actually a cool feature, but yeah, even though it's useless, but it's a cool feature that you can mix and match component schemas of different types. It's a cool feature to implement as well, but yeah, this is like from being needed, right? So
I mean, good. Like, I'm not optimistic, but good luck with the survey. Like, ask Missy how many responses she got on her survey on the on use cases. Like, it's I mean, we can all, like, we do everything we can to actually be as transparent as possible and allow people to voice their opinions. Like, and even if you do survey, again, like in 3 months, somebody will come and say like, no, actually it should be different. So it's everything we do is public. The meeting is public. The proposal is public. We're not releasing 3.0 in a week. But in 2 weeks. So answering Jonas' question, how to go forward. For me, like if it comes to this nesting, like, I mean, there's no use case. Like, why would we even bother?
No, I don't think. And even if someone has a use case, I don't think we should do it.
Yeah. I mean, I would really be super interested to understand this use case. Like, if really somebody has it, like, why would you do it? Like, it's super interesting.
Two developers with two different opinions that want to use it at the same time. One likes Avro, one likes JSON.
Yes, that would probably be the case. Like, I don't want to type JSON schema. I don't want to type Avro. So
compromises.
It's okay. You can write both.
Yeah, exactly. Magic.
But I would suggest, sorry, I just complete my sentence. So what I would suggest, like, what's the most interesting is, like, I think the most pleasure comes from working on proposals for actually valid use case. So this ability to have custom schema on a component level. And I would suggest, like, focus on this first and drive that forward, because there are use cases. You have Gerald, you have Michael, there are people in the community that need it, and you have people to give you feedback on a real use case. So that's what I would like. This is useful,
and this actually makes sense if you think about it. Like, the same way you want to compose different JSON schemas, you're going to reuse certain chunks. You might want to do the same with a protobuf, Avro, or any other schema format. You want to compose schemas. The only thing here is that we need to make sure that they all have to be of the same type, right? They're all JSON schema, or they're all Avro, or they're all protobuf, or whatever. And more importantly, we need to make sure that in the future, we don't just get crazy and say, like, now it's easy. It's just one step forward. Let's just let them mix and match. Because we need to, at some point, like, here's the limit, and we're not trespassing this limit. That's it. Like,
I think it's an important thing to write. Like, we need to write that specific, not use case, but that specific dilemma down, so we know it exactly, and you can read about it in the spec when you read about the custom schema framework. Like, here's the limitation and why it was chosen, right? So you can always go back and.
That's a good one, yeah. And explain when things should fail, why, and which limit we're not willing to trespass.
Yeah. Magic, did you look at the meeting we had last time and the comments we had? I'm not sure if you agreed with them more.
No, some part. I see this part about the complexity of this. Yeah, and the front side that don't like this nested JSON schema. But do you mean the video or the issue?
I think it was more about the custom schema keyword itself. Didn't make much sense to any of us at the meeting, which is like, you don't need to have that extra keyword.
But then you need to, okay.
Because you can unwrap it basically, and all of the extra properties, and that makes it more clean in a sense.
It makes it more. Otherwise, if you make it part of the schema object, then you're basically saying that
the people can
use this property at any level.
Yeah, but remember, with this schema format and def, if people, if we will have the JSON schema, but if we will have the JSON schema inside the component schemas, it will be okay, yes? Or you need also to define the schema format as the JSON. Because
ask again.
In
Refresh.
your proposal, yes, very similar to me. In the component schemas, you have to define the schema format, yes, to define another format. But in the case of the JSON schema, you need also to define it, or you can only define the JSON schema. Okay.
No, it is like your suggestion of having schema format, then def, and then inside def you have the schema definition. That's what I will do.
On the root, okay.
Genesis.
Basically just
Like in my first
unwrap it.
proposal, yeah.
Yeah,
It was in my
Was it-
first proposal.
Oh yeah. So I will do this, because if we do it like this, then someone can compose by pointing at
Yeah, I
schemas,
understand.
name of the schema, definition,
Mhm.
or def, or whatever. And then, but because you're pointing to definition, you're skipping the schema format keyword, and then it's expected not to work because
Yeah.
it's not carried over to the child properties, right?
Yeah.
But if you make it part of the schema, then the schema format property is carried over even to the child properties.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's what might make people think that it will work.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So we reached one of 3 points in our agenda, so that was great. Yay!
And just to add a cosmetic change, since I'm anticipating that many people will be adding slash definition at the end of the $ref reference, let's call it def.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's like definition. So let's call it def, maybe.
All right, so I'll carry over the 2 other items on the agenda for next meeting. And Fran, do you mind adding the specific of the concern to the pull request, or the pull request or issue?
The best
That
the
needs to be
example
clarified.
you wrote.
Yeah, I can do it.
All right. Any last words? Anyone?
Yes. Just want to say that even though I'm sometimes like very excited about a specific, not excited in the good sense, like excited in the sense of going against something. Yeah, I still think it's a good work. So yeah, don't feel that this is me against any of you. Like
I mean, I only need for the React component, so you know.
Everything you're doing is I know
So
it's
selfish.
That's all you
like
need.
this metadata object, yes, only for that.
Exactly.
Not for the community, only for me.
So yeah, I think it's still a good work, and I think a discussion to have, and I think this is gonna even make 3.0 better. So yeah.
So thank you very much.
Make it better again. I just wanted to have a joke. Anyway, my only feedback, like Maciej, next time, because I advise you to start with use case, or at least like the problem. Because you jump directly into new keywords and started talking to them about them. It's at least in my case. Maybe it's just because of me, but sometimes it takes me a minute too. So it's like I would be on the YouTube channel getting messages with delay. So it's hard. I need some time to catch up with what you mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much.
I will improve.
You're so kind.
I will improve.
Very
but
nice.
Maybe it's a problem only with you, not there.
I think it might be, but you have to respect that. Sorry.
He's too old to improve now. So.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, exactly.
We have to deal with whatever we have.
So true. So true.
All right, let's call it a wrap. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for participating.
Okay.
See you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.